I want to take advantage of Kathleen Wynne and Tim Hudak being at the table here. And a lot of conversation has gone on and all kinds of breathless reporting around the floor crossing. And I want to know, Kathleen Wynne, if it were to happen, who knows what when this kind of stuff goes on? Because the suggestion being, that the Prime Minister really didn't have a hand in it. I find it really hard to believe that there weren't conversations going on well before, and I would think weeks before. Chris, what's his name? Don Tremont. Yeah. Before he actually said, I'm going to cross the floor on what happened to be budget day.
Yeah. So, I think each situation is probably a little bit different. When I was in that rump after 2018, we got, we had a crossing from the Conservatives, and there is absolutely no doubt there was conversation long before it actually happened. Maybe not months, but certainly weeks. And there was sort of a mutuality in the conversation. Obviously, there have been rumors of the Liberals being open to people coming into the fold, but it comes the other way too. Like, who are the people who are the most dissatisfied? And when things happen in our case, when a member was disrespected in terms of what he or she was most interested in, and in this case it was Amanda Simard and French language services, and Carolyn Mulroney was the minister, and it really was not a good situation at all. And so she felt like, what she had been elected to do, she wasn't going to be able to do in that party. So that was what happened. And it was tough for her. I will just say it was very, very hard for her when she came over. I think it's a gut-wrenchingly hard thing to do. And I'm sure for this MP, although his margin was very, very slim, so maybe there's more Liberal sentiment than not. But it's a tough thing to do. Take some time for there to be trust built, particularly in a government caucus like that. When it happened for us, we were a rump. We were just thrilled to get another member. We were trying to get up to party status because the Conservatives had raised the bar, right? So anyway, I think it's really tough. But yes, there are conversations before the day. That is for sure.
So, Tim, to what extent is the leader involved in those conversations, or when do you think the leader inserts him or herself into that discussion?
It is a 5-alarm blaze when that sort of thing is happening. If you're going to lose and a member, you do everything you can to try to keep them, unless there's such a thorn in the side to caucus and they want him or her out. But it's also an important focus because of the political win you get as a leader when you're trying to attract folks from the other side. So I'm trying to think through my examples, and I was writing them down here, Dave, from my own experience. So on the rat to the blue side, and it's probably too strong of a verb to use when I'm talking about real life situations, but just think of Churchill's line about anybody can rat, but it takes great ingenuity to re-rat. There were two members, and I can't remember if they were under Premier Wynne or Premier McGuinty from the Liberal caucus, who talked to me about coming over when I was opposition leader. Neither eventually happened because I think Premier Wynne hit it on the nail on the head. It's typically about respect, and there were changes made in their positions, and they stayed on the Liberal side. We did experience Tim Peterson coming under Premier McGuinty to the Conservative side. And, the dynamic and reflect within caucus there, you get the victory, but it also has this controversy. So within caucus, that person's not part of the bond. They've not been in the trenches. So there was an uneasy fit. And, here's a trade secret. Politicians have egos. Not sure if you knew that. And so then there's also, well, is this guy going to be taking my spot on this committee or my seat in the House and all that kind of stuff? So it's often an uneasy fit. My loss was kind of a semi here, where, two members of my caucus, when it was McGuinty minority government and they needed one more seat, were in discussions with Premier McGuinty in the office. One of whom had such a high price that didn't work out, and the other, Elizabeth Whitmer, took the position as the chair of the WSIB, which opened her seat for a by-election. And we were caught off guard. We didn't know that was happening. I remember her calling me when I was on the road outside of Kenora, and it was a body blow to morale for our caucus.